Every time you send money across a border, something happens that you never see. A message travels through a network that moves the instructions behind more than $150 trillion in cross border payments every year. That's more than the entire economic output of every country on earth combined. Almost nobody outside the financial industry has ever heard of it. It's been called a financial nuclear weapon, on the record, by a sitting government minister. In 2001, its data was secretly handed to American intelligence agencies. A government investigation found that broke the law. Nothing happened. And here's the part I want you to hold on to. It's still running, right now. This exact second, while you're watching this, your money moves through it. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly who's watching it move, and you'll wish you'd known sooner. The name is Swift. Before we get to what Swift actually did, and I promise, it's worse than you're expecting, you need to understand what Swift is. Because the way it was built explains exactly why what happened next was so easy to hide. Stick around. The 2001 story alone will change how you see every bank transfer you ever made. Moving money between countries was slow, manual, error-prone. Banks used telex machines. Instructions were typed by hand. A single misdirected message could lose millions. But that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was this. One American bank had deeply embedded in the infrastructure that international banks depended on, Citibank, which meant if you were a major bank in Germany or Japan or France, you were running an international business through the pipes of an American competitor. That made European banks nervous. So 239 banks from 15 countries met in Brussels and built their own system, a cooperative owned by the banks who used it, controlled by no single country. They called it SWIFT. They built it to escape exactly the kind of control this video is about to show you fell into it anyway. Keep that in mind. It matters later. It went live in 1977 and it grew and it grew and it grew. Today, SWIFT connects more than 11,500 financial institutions across more than 200 countries and territories. Tens of millions of messages every single day. $150 trillion a year. Now here's what most people's understanding of money breaks down completely. SWIFT does not move money. Read that again. The system behind $150 trillion a year doesn't touch a single dollar of it. SWIFT moves messages, instructions. Bank A tells Bank B, credit this account, this amount, now. The money moves itself separately through correspondent banking, a whole other story. SWIFT is the grammar, the shared language that makes global finance possible at all. And this is the detail the rest of the video hinges on, so don't lose it. If SWIFT is the language, whoever controls the language controls the conversation. Keep asking yourself from here on, who's actually controlling that control? Russia annexes Crimea. Western governments start listing their options. One option, disconnect Russia from SWIFT. Russia's response is immediate. Then Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev calls it, on the record, the equivalent of a declaration of war, not a sanction, a declaration of war. The idea gets shelved, but the world doesn't forget it. And 8 years later, someone actually pulls the trigger. That's coming up. Russia invades Ukraine. This time, it's not theoretical. The EU legally orders SWIFT to disconnect a list of Russian banks. The US, UK, and Canada move in parallel. French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire gives the movement its name, the financial nuclear weapon. Within days, the ruble collapses, capital flees, the Russian economy seizes up. Here's a detail almost every news report buried, and it's the hinge this entire video turns on. SWIFT didn't make that call, governments did. SWIFT just implemented it, which raises the question SWIFT has never cleanly answered. If it's an independent cooperative operating under Belgian law, why does it move when governments tell it to? To answer that, we have to go back further than 2014. We have to go back to the one date I've been building toward this entire video, September 11th, 2001. And what happened next is the real story here. 3 days after the attacks, the US Treasury issues a series of subpoenas demanding SWIFT hand over its transaction data, every international wire, every cross-border instruction, a record of the financial activity of the entire connected world. SWIFT complies. Not because Belgian law required it, not because European law permitted it, but because SWIFT had server infrastructure on American soil, which gave US courts the reach to compel it. For the next 5 years, US Treasury has access to the transaction data of the entire SWIFT network, and SWIFT tells no one, not its member banks, not European governments, not the hundreds of millions of people whose transactions are inside it, including, very possibly, someone in your own family. This is the part I told you to wait for. In 2006, the New York Times exposes the program. Belgium's own privacy investigators conclude SWIFT violated Belgian and European privacy law. SWIFT faces no meaningful consequence. The program continues under a modified agreement. In 2013, documents leaked by Edward Snowden suggest US intelligence kept pushing past even that. Stop for a second. A system built specifically because European and Asian banks were uncomfortable with American control of financial infrastructure secretly hands the financial records of the entire world to American intelligence. Gets caught, gets found to have broken the law, faces no consequence. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's parliamentary findings, court documents, and reporting from the New York Times and Washington Post, all public record. It was documented, it was published, it was acknowledged, and the system kept running. And that's not even the most uncomfortable part. There's one more layer, the part that explains why nothing like real accountability has ever touched this system. Not once, in 50 years. The official oversight of SWIFT, the thing that's supposed to stop a repeat of 2001, is described in the National Bank of Belgium's own documentation as moral suasion, not law, not enforcement power, not binding regulation. No regulator can fine SWIFT, no one can compel it to change. What exists is a relationship, an understanding, a bow drawn from the world's largest banks, and the practical reality that whoever holds enough leverage over SWIFT's infrastructure can move it. By every documented measure, that's still the United States. Russia knows this, it's been building an alternative since 2014. China knows this, it's been accelerating CIPS, its own cross-border system, since 2022. The EU knows this. It's been discussing an independent European payment system since Snowden leaks. A decade of meetings. Almost nothing built. Because replacing SWIFT means convincing every major bank on earth to switch simultaneously to something that doesn't fully exist yet. That's why SWIFT remains. Not because it's beyond criticism. Not because 2001 didn't happen. But because the world was built on top of it, before anyone understood what that meant. Remember what I told you at the very start of this video, that by the end, you'd know exactly who's watching your money move? Here's the answer. You've sent an international wire, used the card abroad, received money from another country. Every one of those sent a message through this network, a network built to free the world from American financial dominance, that ended up handing the world's financial records to American intelligence. Got caught breaking the law and paid no price for it. It processes $150 trillion a year. It's overseen by moral persuasion. It's headquartered in a suburb of Brussels that almost nobody visits. The money was always moving. The question nobody ever put to you was, who gets to watch it travel? Now you know the answer. What you do with that is the first genuinely free choice you've made about your money in a very long time. If this is the kind of system you didn't know existed until right now, imagine what else is running quietly underneath everything you use every day. That's exactly what this channel exists to show you. Subscribe, because the next one is even harder to believe.